Recording in progress. There you go, Barry.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So it's a beautiful morning. It's cloudy outside. I'm reading something here. Okay. Cloudy day here where I live in Richmond. And I assume it might be cloudy where you are in Berkeley. Is it?
Yes, it's overcast.
Yes. So the clouds stretch far and wide. The clouds move in and out of our lives like beautiful sheep in a meadow. The world is full of wonders. Everywhere around us are wonders. Isn't that not right? If we open our eyes, if we are aware, we can approach the wonders of the world that are all about us. From the food on our tables to the tables themselves. Even the table is a wonder. In fact, I was just reading a book about UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And one of the scientists was saying that we don't even know where this table comes from, let alone UFOs. It is very true that the floor under our feet, the chair we're sitting on, what is it? Where did that come from? How is that possible? How did something arise out of the universe to become all that we see around us?
It's just beginning.
Just the beginning.
Yes.
The beginning, what happened at the beginning?
Was an ending. And then it started over again.
Well, that goes along with the Hindu philosophy, which believes that the universe comes and goes. That the universe has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then a beginning again. That it's a big cycle. That would make sense.
It's the only way to go.
For when the universe began, it had a structure. The universe 14 billion years ago began. It put out a great amount of light and heat and energy, and also the first atoms, or the parts of atoms. It was too hot for atoms to form, but the atoms did eventually come together and produce the first hydrogen and helium that was all that there was in the universe. How do you get tables and chairs from hydrogen and helium? How do you get a floor from that? How do you get a piece of toast on a plate?
Like coffee too.
And the coffee too. I'm having some coffee myself here. A piece of toast on a plate is a kind of miracle. It is a development. That piece of toast is a development that took 4.5 billion years since the earth was formed. It didn't just happen overnight. Only 135 million years ago, which sounds like a long time, but when you compare it to the 14 billion years of the universe, it's not so long. 135 million years ago or so, the first flowering plants came into being. With those plants came the promise of things like the grasses, such as corn and wheat and rice and barley and oats and what else? Sorghum, I guess, and anyway, the grasses appeared, and from those grasses you get the toast on your plate. But that toast is the culmination of a long, long series of evolutionary steps that led to the grasses, that led to seeds. Speaking of which, I have this wonderful book here. I think I've shown you this before, but this is called Seeds and Fruits. And it's a beautiful study of all different sorts of seeds. Now the seed, why is the seed important? Why would somebody write a book about seeds? What do you think?
Perhaps they have seeds, otherwise it doesn't carry on.
Right. Right. The seeds are inheritance, are reproductive organs. The seeds enable plants of all kinds to reproduce themselves. And they are an advanced design. A seed has food for the young plant in it. That's a very interesting thing, don't you think? That the seed is carrying a package of food for the young plant, which enables it to survive under difficult conditions. You know, some seeds have been dug up from Egypt, for example, that were buried a couple of thousand years ago, and they sprouted some date seedlings. That means a seed can lie dormant, waiting for the right conditions. Pretty amazing. Seeds now enable plants to go about the world, to live in places that plants were not able to live before, because what came before was something called a spore. Before seeds, you had just a naked, I shouldn't say naked, a kind of little capsule of genetic material that could reproduce fine, but it had to be around water. It could lie dormant and wait too, but it had to live around, it would be best around a watery environment, which limited its ability to travel around the world. But the seed accomplished that greater mobility because it had food stored in it for the young plant and didn't depend solely on being around a lot of water. Any questions or comments? So the seeds were very important, and the toast on the plate, the bread that we eat is all made from wheat seeds or rye seeds or even rice. In some places, barley. What else do you make with seeds? You can make beer. Beer is made out of what? Malted barley and some hops for flavor. But basically seeds that have been like fermented. What else do we get out of seeds? You can get rice, of course, corn. I want to show you an interesting seed. You see this?
Nice.
Now this seed
Wow.
is interesting, right? Look at that. It has like wings.
So it gets around,
It has wings.
travels.
Now, then the seed is actually at the bottom, but the wings are, what are the wings for?
Get around, to travel.
They what?
For traveling, to getting around.
Traveling, right, traveling. It enables the seed to move through the air, to flutter. You may have seen that at times, things falling from trees, fluttering through the air, which, what does that do? It gives them the ability to travel far from the tree, or enough from the tree so that where it lands, it will grow in the sunlight, not under the shade of the tree, for example. It's a pretty ingenious thing, don't you think? Wings on seeds.
Nature did a good job.
What's that, Wayne?
Nature did a good job.
Yes, indeed. Nature, that's a wonderful statement. Nature often does a very good job. The fact that we're sitting here is pretty amazing. It's unbelievable, actually, when you go into the intricacies of the way we're supported. It's pretty unbelievable that we're here at all. We need, for example, a source of energy to make our lives possible. So we have, what do we have for a source of energy? We have the sun, right? We have the sun that shines 24 hours a day on the earth, whether it's dark or light. The sun is shining somewhere, warming the atmosphere, making it possible for life to exist. Without the sun's energy, the surface of the earth would be a few hundred degrees below zero. Not too pleasant. Not too pleasant. So the sun, which has been worshipped by different peoples at different times because of its importance, the sun provides us with the nurturing energy necessary for life, all life. Any questions or comments? And the sun works through a very specific process combining atoms of hydrogen into helium. Pretty amazing, right? It doesn't burn like a candle. It's a completely different process. So when the sun bears its light on the earth, beams its light on the earth, we have the miracle of this process of combining atoms and releasing energy from those atoms. All atoms contain energy. You might say all atoms are energy. It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable when you think about it. And I don't know why there aren't more people talking about this. It's mind-boggling to me that we don't talk about this as much as we should. I think that we might. Anyway, any questions or comments?
Why don't we talk about it?
Why don't we talk about it? That's a great question. Why don't we examine the things around us, the miracles, the wonders? And wouldn't that make life better? Wouldn't that give us a different perspective? Maybe a different appreciation for being here? Here's a beautiful book, and I've read it many times to you. It's called Upstream. It's a book of essays by Mary Oliver, a wonderful poet. She writes, for example, sometimes the desire to be lost again, as long ago, comes over me like a vapor. With growth into adulthood, responsibilities claim me. So many heavy coats. I didn't choose them. I don't fault them. But it took a long time to reject them. Now in the spring I kneel. I put my face into the packets of violets, the dampness, the freshness, the sense of everness. Mary Oliver had a sense of the long view. She had a sense of seeing the universe in its entirety, in its wholeness, from the stars to the planets to the earth with its mountains and waters, landscapes, the wonder of it all. Each breath is a mystery. Each breath we take in contains oxygen, and that oxygen is used for a very interesting purpose. It's used to help us create energy. All day long we're creating energy and using this oxygen to do it. Oxygen has a specific strong pull on electrons, and it pulls electrons through the membranes of cells. And when that happens, there's a little machine that is turned. It's more complicated, but There's a little machine in the membranes of cells that turns, and it replaces a phosphorus atom onto a molecular structure which is called ATP, which provides us with the energy we need to move, to walk, to think, to digest our lunch. ATP is the currency of energy in the body, and we produce enormous amounts of it every day. But it wouldn't happen without oxygen, which is why we need to take in every breath. It's very complicated. Maybe you've taken this up in high school or college. Maybe you remember this from your biology or chemistry classes. The creation of ATP, it's a molecule, an energy molecule that provides us with, our go power every day. And it depends on oxygen. Life depends on a few atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, just a few atoms basically. And it happens that those atoms have particular qualities that lead to the development of life. I was watching a little video last night about how atoms come together and form things like the precursors of life. What are those? The things like amino acids and carbohydrates, things like the phosphorus membranes that line all of our cells. These things happen spontaneously without life. The atoms want to do that. The atoms want to form these chemicals that lead up to life. That's pretty amazing, no? Is life inevitable all throughout the universe? Is life not some sort of fluke, some kind of isolated, strange incident that happened only on Earth? But does life happen everywhere in the universe that it's given a chance? Kind of like a seed, excuse me, kind of like a seed that flies through the air and falls on the ground in the sun so that it can sprout and grow in a healthy way. If there's a planet like Earth, someplace with water, not too far from its sun, not too close to the sun, will life appear? What do you think?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Exactly. Exactly. Life seems to be written into the design of the universe. That's pretty amazing, no? Life, there seems to be a design to the universe. How in the world did that ever come about? That atoms appeared in the first moments of the universe is pretty astounding. Why should atoms appear at all? Atoms make up everything that we know in the material universe, right? Ourselves, the chair we're sitting on, the air we're breathing, right? Imagine the air we're breathing is nothing but atoms. Mary Oliver had a reverence for the world, reverence for trees and flowers and insects and birds. All these things are miracles. And you might say, what is a bird? What is a plant? That's a question that most people don't ask. We simply accept the fact that a plant is a plant, a dog is a dog, a cat is a cat. But maybe there's more to it. Maybe something has become that dog, that plant, the cat, even the piece of toast. What is it that is behind everything we experience? There may be more to this world than we ever can imagine. The scientist said that. He said, the universe is more than we imagine and can imagine. Einstein said we were very limited by our senses, that we could only discern so much about the universe through our senses. And he knew intuitively that there was much more to the universe than we can appreciate ordinarily. Without our senses tell us there's only a few thousand stars in the sky, for example, right? For hundreds and thousands of years, people thought there were only a few thousand stars in the sky. But now we know that there are more stars than what? Grains of sand on the beaches of the world.
Holy shit.
There are so many stars, it's incomprehensible to imagine the amount of stars there are. How did that all come about? How is it that the universe contains such abundance?
Whoa. Whoa. Mine has stopped.
Imagine a galaxy is a collection of stars in the hundreds of billions. And there are 2 trillion of those galaxies.
Oh, shit.
At least, maybe more. We don't know. It's mind-boggling. Why is the universe so abundant? Why isn't there just one galaxy? Which we thought, that's what we thought about 100 years ago, that the whole universe was the Milky Way. Our own galaxy with maybe 200 billion stars. A lot of stars. But nothing compared to the whole universe, which contains now some 2 trillion galaxies. Imagine what's going on out there.
You think it ends?
What's that?
Do you think that there's an end? And
And
if there is an end,
yeah.
what,
Oh, is there an end? That's a good question. That is a good question. I'm not up on that enough to talk much about it. Some people think that there is an edge to the universe. What is beyond the edge? We don't know. Others think it goes on pretty much forever. Nobody knows. The universe may have a shape. Some people think it's pretty flat, that all the galaxies are spread out in a kind of flat wheel, but some people think there's a curve to it, which might mean the universe will eventually fall in upon itself and disappear in a giant crunch.
no,
That goes along with the Hindu idea of the cyclical universe, the arising and maturing and the dying of the universe, and its rebirth. Rebirth is a wonderful thing. Rebirth we see all around us. I recently had a grandchild come into the world. Very interesting to watch this grandchild. How many people have grandchildren? One, two, yeah, grandchildren. Three, okay. You like to play with the grandchildren?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. In some ways, it's easier than your own kids, right? I mean, or more fun than your own kids. Um, anyway, the grandchildren, it's wonderful to watch them grow, isn't it? It's amazing how they develop and perceive the world and experiment and explore and really interesting and have teeth come in and start to crawl around and stand up and pretty amazing. Rebirth, right? You look into the eyes of a grandchild and you see rebirth. Consciousness again is born. The same consciousness that you and I possess is in this grandchild. A new life, new consciousness, fresh, aware, learning, growing. Consciousness rebirths itself, revives itself. People say, is there life after death? What do you think?
is there death?
At least we have children, right? At least the children are life that is extending now, that is opening, that is growing. New life. Wonderful. Consciousness has become the child, you might say. Life has become this child. Life becomes a tree or a bird or a fish. Those are just different forms of something impossible to understand, you might say. Almost impossible.
Who understands them?
Hmm?
Who is the understander?
Who is the understanding? Who?
Who understands all of this?
No one. No one. It is beyond our understanding. In fact, many religions have talked about this question of what it all is. What does this mean? What is life? And we stop short of an answer. Maybe the answer, they say, is beyond words, beyond thought. The answer lies in experience itself. We are the answer. In Hinduism, we don't have a separation between God and ourselves. God is in everything, from the chair we're sitting on to the floor to our shoes. God is in everything, a great mystery and wonder that produces the world. Another word for God is being. Being is a vast idea. All things are contained in being. That anything is here is a great mystery. One of the great questions of all time is, why is there something rather than nothing? It's a wonderful question, no?
Yes.
Why is there something rather than nothing? How did something arise? How did something come into being? We can't answer this, of course, but it's interesting to think about it, no? It's almost impossible to understand how something could come into being from nothing. We assume, and maybe we're wrong, when we assume the universe began with nothing and something came into being. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe there was always something, like an energy field. We know now the universe is not empty. Space is not empty. It is filled, of course, with lots and lots of stars and planets, but even the empty space is not empty. Empty space is full of energy, full of different fields of energy, intertwining, moving, and so the universe is not, the sky, the space is not empty.
Where did it all start?
That's a great question, because our universe seems to have a design, a plan, and if it does that, doesn't that imply that something came before? Hmm? On the earth and in our universe, we see growth, rebirth. We see evolution. Evolution means change, so that the first things in the universe, the energy fields and atoms, were very simple. just hydrogen, helium. You can't build a horse out of that. You can't make a table out of that. So how did that horse, how did that table come into being? You can't, hydrogen and helium are fine for stars, but you can't do much more with them. We know now that in those first stars and in subsequent stars, new atoms are formed. That's pretty amazing. Heavier atoms than hydrogen and helium, atoms like oxygen and nitrogen, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, all the atoms necessary for life are made in stars. And this is a process of growth. As the universe expanded and cooled down, it turned into stars, and ultimately those stars gave birth to new elements which could make things like planets and water and atmospheres. That's pretty amazing, no? And so we see the universe today as a long growth, a long period of becoming more complex. Amazing.
Where's it all gonna go?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. That's a wonderful question. What does it mean? What is becoming in the universe, you might say? What is its ultimate aim? What do you think? Are we it? Is this it? Or will we continue to grow and change and become something new and different?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, really. If you pick up the newspapers, we need some change. There's a word, enlightenment, that is used in many philosophies and religious circles. Enlightenment, what does that mean? To understand, I think, the nature of who we are and the universe. To be aware that we are part of the universe and we are its expression. Each of us is an expression, a unique expression of the universe. But what is it that's expressing itself? That is the great mystery. Some people think of God as a being in space, a kind of larger version than ourselves with infinite power and wisdom and so on. But others think of God as being itself. Being itself. Let me say that again. All things are contained in the being of God. And this being is not like a person, it's more like everything. Or I should say, not just like a person, it's more like everything. A fish is a being. A fish is part of being. It is not aware of its being. Well, I shouldn't say that. We don't know what a fish is aware of. A fish is being itself. Any questions or comments? Here's an interesting book. It's called Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Lao Tzu, Four Mystical Traditions. This book is written by Richard Hooper, religious scholar. And in it he compares these four people or beings, Jesus, Krishna. Krishna is more a godlike being. The Buddha, which was an actual person, and Lao Tzu, which is another person. Lao Tzu, a great philosopher in China. One of Lao Tzu's disciples said that everything was being. All things were contained in being. There was nothing outside of being. Let's see. In a book called the Sophia, the Pistis Sophia, it was written, and this is part of the Gnostic Gospels, which are books that didn't make it into the Bible. These books were studied and revered by early Christians, and for one reason or another, they didn't make it into the Bible, but now we've just rediscovered them, and they do contain a lot of very interesting things, such as, now let us all rejoice, seek the light, that the power of the stars which is in you may live. Now, that's really interesting, no? That was written more than 2,000 years ago. The power of the stars which is in you may live. Indeed, we know now the energy that makes things work comes from the sun, our star. In fact, I have a whole book here called Eating the Sun, which is about the fact that when we eat something, the energy we're getting comes from the sun. And this saying, the power of the stars which is in you may live, seek the light. That was 2,000 years ago. Jesus said, I am from the light. And he urged his followers to find the light within themselves. There's another saying, because you have renounced all and you have endured all sufferings, and because of your rebirth from one body to the next, you have become pure light. You will ascend to be king and the kingdom of light. It's interesting how much light is talked about in these religious sayings. Any question? So, let's see. We have a few more moments. Maybe I'll read a poem. Here's a poem called Wax Wings. This is by Robert Francis. Four Tao philosophers, as cedar waxwings, chat on a February berry bush, in sun, and I am one. Such merriment and such sobriety, the small wild fruit on the tall stalk. Was this not always my true style? Above an elegance of snow, beneath the silk blue sky, a brotherhood of four birds. Can you mistake us? To sun, to feast, and to converse, and all together. For this I have abandoned all my other lives. A beautiful poem here is called The Heart of Heracles. Heracles, what's that? It's a constellation, I believe. Lying under the stars in the summer night, late, while the autumn constellations climb the sky, as the cluster of Heracles falls down the west, I put the telescope by and watch Deneb move towards the zenith. My body is asleep. Only my eyes and brain are awake. The stars stand around me like gold eyes. I can no longer tell where I begin and leave off. The faint breeze in the dark pines and the invisible grass, the tipping earth, the swarming stars, have an eye that sees itself. That's a very interesting last line, isn't it? Have an eye that sees itself. What does that mean? That's a beautiful idea. The universe is itself, seeing itself. The universe has an eye that sees itself. This eye has come out of the universe. We are the eyes that see the universe, that see our own self in the universe. You are the universe. You are the universe. How amazing is that? Each of us is far more than we think. We are the universe itself, seeing, tasting, smelling, hearing, walking, eating. All things we do are expressions of the universe. Everything is a wonder, a beautiful wonder. Each of us should greet each other as a wonder. I'm going to end it here. I want to thank all of you for your wonderful listening, your deep listening.
Thank you for giving us something to listen to.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Hopefully we'll see each other next time.
Okay.
Take care and be well, everyone.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. It was good to be with you today. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh. What's all there? Oh. Oh.
They're coming up. Give me a second here. I might need your hand. Yeah, come on, stand up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
But you can't.
Okay.
Okay, straight up.
No, I left the bottle.
I get it. Go straight out the door. I'll get it.
Sure.
Where are we going?
I'm gonna sit right there because you're gonna have lunch.
We're gonna lunch right here, John.
Lily,
Don't
the
stand.
bathroom is in there.
Oh, yes. What?
Must be.
Oh. Oh, sure.
Stay there.
No.
It's full. You have to wait.
Oh.
I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
What is making I'll come back to you.
Okay. Okay, okay. Boom. Boom. Mm. Boom. Mm. Are you farting? No. John, you're farting. So what? Well, that's true. So what? As long as you don't end up me. No, it isn't. Yeah, then what? No, that's okay. Where are you going? I'm going to that. You're leaving the room? Yeah. Should I? Whatever. Whatever? Bless the shit.
I'm gonna get you, hold on, do that. Give me 1 second, hold on. Curtis, I know, hold on, Don. Come on. You'll see this over there. Billy, you'll see this right here. Come on, Don.
I got you a spot, I promise. Come here. I think, John, you were there, maybe, John? Wherever you want to be, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's your cup. I don't know whose this is. Wayne, here, but you're in here. Nuh-uh, we don't do that, okay?
You want to sit down?
I do. We'll make it right.
You want to sit down too?
Yeah. lunch break. You're about to be on your lunch break.
We're gonna partake in lunch.
Yes,
Oh, all right.
that's always a motivator, right?
That motivated me.
Yeah,
I'm sitting down.
yeah.
Where's the lunch?
Launch.
Let me get you a chair, Cynthia.
Notice.
Really?
Yes. Jack shit.
Who doesn't know jack shit?
Jack shit.
I know Mr. Shit.
Oh, you do? Have a seat, Dwayne. Now, come on, Wayne. Sit down. Sit down. Be a good dog. Sit down. Sit. Nice. Dubaga.
Dubaga?
Dubaga.
Dubaga apa kita
See,
No comprehende.
no Africana Gaga.
You trying to act innocent. Okay. You. I don't want to be a buzzkill. We can't do that, okay? Right? Is that cool? Green's pretty.
What? I guess so.
What's down there? Oh, you're playing with that. You want to sit? You want to sit on one side of those? Or you okay? Because I don't
Minutes,
What?
15 minutes.
Where?
Goddamn find out for that women.
How's Sophia today? Wow, are you sure? In there. You're messing around. Come on. You want me to get you some paper?
Paper.
Yours or drawing? Or are we not there yet?
Well, I'm always there, but there's nothing to draw. There's no pencils.
I said, can I get you some?
Sure.
I'm in the bathroom right now when I come out.
Sit down, Wayne. Sit down, Wayne. Why? Why? Because I say, bang. Where are you from?
Where's anybody from?
Huh?
I'm from here.
You're from here. From Billy.
Here is the universe. What the hell is this?
Here we
It is a nice piece.
there. Look at that.
Look at that. Which
Try
one-
that.
Which one I draw?
Why don't you draw?
Bird?
No.
No bird?
How about? You know what? I learned some trivia today that I thought was really interesting. Do you know what a group of zebras is called?
Zebra?
It's called a zazzle. Or
Zazzle?
a dazzle.
Dazzle, zebra?
Yes, isn't that wild? Maybe you should draw a dazzle. That's your challenge, mister. A dazzle of zebras.
Dazzle and see.
I can't love dazzle.
It's okay. It's all right.
I only have one piece of paper to myself.
Yeah.
You can draw birds. Birds.
Wow. I'll do it here first. Okay. What's that? What? You get the shit. Huh?
Get it over there, buddy. No. You know what you'll see that with that shirt. There you go.
Oh, snow, no.
Iron and Robert.
Turn around.
Wait.
What?
Water.
Who's got that too?
Wait, I'm gonna take this. You finished with this?
Yes, I am. Thank you, man. Part noise. Part. Oh. That makes absolutely no sense.
I'm the same way.
Little mama, they're doing that cooking. Red Fox. So I don't know what's for lunch. A lot of times, what's bring for lunch, just wanted to be a surprise for us. Give everybody a nap.
Yeah, keep everyone in that.
So I have Mr. Who, he's passing out the napkin.
Oh, Mr. Who's gonna get out there? Doobie day.
Poo-poo on you.
There she is.
Wah, poo-poo.
Whoa.
That thing right there.
Uh-oh,
No, you didn't. Come on.
need your fart.
You got it.
Fart. Fart. Fart.
Fart alert,
Fart alert.
fart alert. Ferdy fart.
Pretty fart. Whoa.
What?
Oh.
Oh. Where are you going?
Well, you certainly.
Bugger?
Bugger.
Fart noise.
Oh.
Can't live by fart noise.
By fart. No. No, she's got it. Yeah.
Who does? Who got the two?
That one. The purple one.
Purple?
Yeah. Hey. Hey.
What was that? Boo day.
What? Hold on,
What?
hold on,
Oh, yeah,
hold on. Come on,
Hold on.
hold on. Hold on.
All right.
No.
Run. Let's go again. Thank you. Yeah, it is shit.
That was you. You said he liked your hat. So yeah.
Hi, Wayne.
You got a little hat on like you can put my hair.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, beautiful hair.
Whoa.
Whoa. That's gorgeous.
That is very nice.
Well, amen.
What happens when you get older? You lose your sense of humor? Or you gain one?
Yeah, you gain one, you gain two, you get six.
And then the game's all
Are you married? Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Daddy.
Okay.
Well, my mama had 8 girls and 1 boy.
They had eight.
8 girls and 1 boy, 9 children?
Yeah, wow.
That's too
His
much.
mom had
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
That's too many.
Yes, it is.
Okay, my boyfriend, my mom, dang, my mom. Oh,
That's
that's
too
okay. Yeah. If I was 60 years old, then I'd be here.
It's too
You show this, Daddy. Daddy, get in my pocket so I can take you home with me. My mom had 8 girls.
8 girls and 1 boy. Good, there we go. You're not kidding.
My younger sister and my brother. They say I don't
have so many children.
And everybody else. My sister
It's just
was
too
Idaho
much.
because her daughter.
Yeah.
Was going to college in Arizona. So at first they got a house in Idaho, then they moved to Arizona with my niece. My brother, he's married down there, so he lives in Idaho. It's been for a year.
Ida's hoe? Ida's hoe? Ida's a hoe? A hoe? Is that a hoe? She's a hoe. Ida's a hoe.
Wow, and you and your wife. Okay, hold on. Look how they look in. It's Miss Who and Mr. Who, that's their kid. Yeah.
Yes, they can.
This is family. His wife, him, and the kid. Wife and him, and the kid. Beautiful. Beautiful family.
Beautiful family. What a beautiful family.
His name is Mr. Who. Oh my God.
I have so much.
Oh my Lord.
Yes. Yeah.
Just fill the room.
Here's the doctor.
From China?
Diane.
Beautiful family. Wow. Wow. That's gorgeous. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Rob, come on, wash your hands. Say something so he can know you back. There you go.
Yep. Sure is.
It will be up here. So you have to come up here.
Sure is.
Right. Where's your hand?
That turns off. It is okay.